I feel that the educational system is broken in the sense that it doesn't give people the option or the understanding of how to be a business owner. I think it does, but maybe at a later date when they start bringing options for doing business studies into the educational system. I think at an earlier age they need to be able to provide kids with freedom to express themselves rather than suppress them.
I was reading one of my bad reports the other day. Do you remember? My mum's giving me all my old reports.
They were all bad.
I wasn't great. And it was like, one of the reports was, if Ryan doesn't sort out his behaviour, he isn't going to go far in life. This is coming from someone, and no disrespect intended to anyone watching this, but that's coming from someone that was probably on a 40k salary. You're telling me I'm not going to get far in life, you know, when you're an employee yourself. So I think it's important to understand, it is broken, it's outdated, but if a kid was to start school now and they're not going to finish school to 2040, the whole world is going to be ran by AI. Absolutely.
What we're saying is that if you believe the education system is correct, then it's correct for you. That's all that matters. It's correct for you. It's not correct for everyone. Like I said, the people who want to more in their life, the people who want to see what's the grass is greener on the other side, understand that there is an education outside of your education system. The stuff that you're going to learn, there is a place for you, and you'll have more of an education. It's like the people say, you don't learn to drive until you start driving. Like you get taught the foundations how to do it, but then you actually understand how to drive correctly and more comfortably once you've started driving. The education system will get you so far. Hi guys, we're going to be discussing a little bit more on the educational system, where we believe it's incorrect, what's wrong with it, or potentially even what's right with it. There are elements, obviously, people have different opinions, and we're going to have a discussion about what we believe it should be, how it should be presented, and how it can be improved. But I know, Ryan, you're massively opinionated on the system.
Where do I start, Anthony?
What's the biggest issue you see with it?
Their teachings are outdated. There's a lot we can go over, and again, I don't think this is unknown for most people.
This is in the UK, just to clarify.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think what they teach is completely irrelevant and the complete opposite to success. When you look at successful people, we deal with successful people every day, our members, our network, and none of them, the majority of them, haven't done well at school. And that's not a coincidence, right? I've got a little girl who's 13 years old. She comes home every day, and she goes to school, that's because of a deeper issue which I won't go into on this podcast. So that's the only reason we send her to school. But when you listen to her talk about what she's learned at school today, I think, how the fuck does that help you? You know, I'm learning history and this person and that person. I'm like, you can Siri that, you can chat GPT that. The school isn't adapting to the world that we live in today, so it's setting up everybody for failure.
I think it's very much keep everyone within the system, teach everyone within a limited means. I don't think there's a level of education out there that allows you to have a freedom of thought. Now, again, controversy to your beliefs, there is a requirement to an education in terms of you need to learn how to read and write. You need to, and it depends on what you aspire to be. If you want to be a scientist, the education system that teaches you science has a purpose. Now, that's just because we don't want to be scientists and we see a better financial freedom or we see better success outside of the education system, doesn't mean that it's wrong or it's right.
See, I disagree. I completely disagree there, because the most important thing in life is understanding money, okay, and the importance of money, because you were like, without money, you cannot live, right? Why did they not teach you about money? And when they teach you about business, why do they only teach you about working for somebody else and not for yourself? And it's not a mistake, again, like if you understand 100%. Who created the educational system, which is the Rockefellers, and again, the quotes get posted online every single day where Rockefeller says, I'm here to create a nation of workers, not a nation of thinkers. You know, that's a fact again. you can see why the educational system has been built, and you can't. I don't think anyone can sit there and agree with the educational system being a good thing. You can't. There's some things in there like the reading and writing, but that can be done at home. You don't need to go to an education. It's to pump out employees. It's to pump out employees that do as they're told, work a job, pay their taxes, and then die, and then be taxed when they die as well. It's all fixed. So I absolutely disagree with anyone that wants to confront me on this and say that there's good parts to the educational system. Socializing, great, fantastic, great for...
But can be done outside of the education system.
But it can be done outside. Yeah. There's classes, music classes, but in terms of what they preach, and again, from the people you're learning from employees.
So this is what I was
learning from employees.
This is what I touched on as well is... So I have a master's, so obviously business of that is obviously what I orientate. I have a master's in marketing, but the masters are taught by people who are teachers and not owners. Yeah. So the education that I learn outside of it by doing it myself or within the system that I'm not here to big up change, but in systems similar to change or obviously what we teach and what we preach, the education you learn there isn't taught within the system because you're not meant to learn it somewhat. You're not meant to learn how to do marketing on Google or on Facebook or stuff like that. Like, and again, social media has been out for 20 years, but there's not a level of education on it. And that's, again, not even just in paid media, like how to handle social media in terms of DMs, social media and stuff like that. Even without making money online, there needs to be a level of education that is focused on the online education, on what you're going to do online outside of media as well.
Yeah, I think people are brainwashed from the age of 4 or 5 years old. They go into school, they have to stand in a line, they have to, conform. They have to do everything. It's like you're draining kids of any aspirations they have or anything. Absolutely, you are, because you're sitting them in a room. As humans, we should be out exploring, experiencing, seeing the world, experiencing different cultures. But these kids are sat in this classroom listening to someone that's on a salary. Yeah? That's wrong. I don't care what anybody says. That's wrong. That's not right. But they've made it so normal because you guys went to school. I went to school. Yeah. My mum and dad went to school. It's normal. Yeah. But it's to build. So it's when they finish school, you then go and get a job and you become the exact same as the people that taught you. So they worked a job. You now go and get a job.
Because that's what the system needs, though.
Yeah.
Well, I think that there are good parts to the educational system. There is a there is like the foundation of it. I think is right in what's required of an educational system. I think that the problem with it is that it hasn't adapted and evolved with.
Well, the idea of it is good.
Yeah, because when you think about the whole educational system, I know you say that it breeds more employees, and
we need
agree.
Employees, by the way.
Exactly, this is where I'm going.
Yeah.
Like, you do need those people because the country countries wouldn't run without employees.
Absolutely.
The world wouldn't work without employees. If everybody was an entrepreneur, if everybody was a business owner, then who's doing the work?
Yeah.
But I feel that the educational system is broken in the sense that it doesn't give people the option or the understanding of how to be a business owner. I think it does, but maybe at a later date when they start bringing options for doing business studies into the educational system. I think at an earlier age they need to be able to provide kids with freedom to express themselves rather than suppress them. And I think that's where it's broken, is that kids are suppressed a lot rather than being allowed to express themselves.
But why have they not adapted to AI now with ChatGPT? Why are they still teaching about history, like who is the 5th president of the UK? Why do you need to know that? Well, how is that going to help your life? It's a complete book. So I've just sent my kid to school today to learn about who was the 5th president. How the fuck does that help you? So I think, again, I completely agree. It's broken, it's outdated. We need employees, absolutely. But I think for anyone that has that, entrepreneurial kind of mentality, it's knocked out you in school. It's very hard to pick it up. It took me to the age of 23, 24, 25 to regain that, like, I'm hungry, I want to do more than a 9 to 5. But I was suppressed for about 10 years, not believing in myself, believing that I'm not good enough, because school sets you up to fail. That's what school does. I was reading one of my bad reports the other day. Do you remember? My mum's giving me all my old reports.
They were all bad.
I wasn't great. And it was like, one of the reports was, if Ryan doesn't sort out his behaviour, he isn't going to go far in life. This is coming from someone, and no disrespect intended to anyone watching this, but that's coming from someone that was probably on a 30, 40k salary. You're telling me I'm not going to get far in life, you know, when you're an employee yourself. So I think it's important to understand, yeah, it is broken, it's outdated, but if a kid was to start school now, they're not going to finish school to what, 2040, the whole world is going to be ran by AI. Why the fuck is school not teaching you about AI right now? Because the whole world is going to be running now. You are fucked.
Some countries are. I mean, you look at, like, it was only in the press last week about China have now said that actually AI needs to be part of the
but we're
curriculum.
talking about the UK.
I know we are.
You said UK.
We are.
I know. But China, you know what China's like. They're different to the UK.
Yeah,
they teach.
I mean, when you
things
talk about
differently.
suppressing kids,
the terms of like, but what you mentioned there, the 30 and 40 grand a year, you're taught that that's a large amount of money.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you're not open to the experience of obviously allowing the freedom of understanding. But I think the one that highlights it the most, and which I've seen, obviously, as parents, you guys have seen as well, is that how much of a development you see in your child once they go on a holiday or an education. Like, Evie Rose learns so much in a short period. When we went away to Lanzarote with you guys, obviously having the exposure of being with Brooke or being with you guys, obviously with Josh and Alex, and like being there, how much Teddy will learn, obviously going into Cyprus all the time and talking to different cultures and understanding what they want. Like, they develop so much as a person, and a lot of education is confidence. And if you can develop the confidence you're meeting, and you'll see that you learn so much taking them outside of school. You're penalised for doing it.
The cultural experiences that they get from visiting other countries is amazing. I mean, you could argue that with what they learn about history and geography and all of that stuff within the educational system sparks that interest, but you're never gonna get the true experience from actually doing it.
It's also history for a reason. How authentic that what you learn the history of Greece is going to be in Greece now. When you go to Dubai, we've just come back from Dubai, and obviously everyone says Dubai is really strict on this and the other, the culture aspect of it. You do want to understand the cultural value of it, but you can go to the Dubai mall and you can wear your shorts and you can show your shoulders. Like, what you're taught is like to restrict you and not to educate you, to keep you in line and not to allow you to express.
He'll tell you about the difference between what's in the books and what's true.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, like, that's a different conversation. Right? When you look at when you look at what you're taught in history, you know, and you actually go and do research, it's not completely true. So you do start to question the educational system there, like who's writing these books, who's telling you this? Because again, we have conversations outside these podcasts about history and you know, things that are apparently facts, and you know,
it's what narrative you want to be shown.
Again, it's the narrative, and it's a narrative is being pushed through the educational system. But I just want to go back to the whole salary thing. Knowing what we know now, and this will include a lot of our members as well, would you sit here right now with someone who's on a 40k salary and listen to them telling you how to become successful right now? No, you wouldn't, because we all know that you need to hang around with people that are entrepreneurial, people that, you know, are not on 30k 40k salaries a year in order to level up. Like, when you hang around with winners and you hang around with millionaires and you hang around with people that are in positions you want to be in, that's where you level up. So if you want to be where your teacher is, then you listen to the teacher and you'll end up probably around the 40k mark salary itself. So I think it's important to understand that. Now, if you told me that when I was in school, I would have thought you was crazy, but they're my teachers.
We also have
the experience, but now I know what I know.
Not even what you know. We also have I could literally grab my phone and show you 10 different stores of members that are doing 40 grand a month.
Exactly.
So the evidence is also there to back it up. But maybe when we were younger, e-commerce wasn't as freedom of us, wasn't educated, wasn't really a thing 50 years ago for some of you older people. But
I'm not that much older.
That was a bit rude, Anthony.
but now there's more evidence, and there's more stuff online as well that can be presented in terms of not even with change or with our members. Our members are skyrocketing success and stuff like that, and we've made £1 million companies to help members scale to that amount. But you go anywhere online, there's so much evidence that there's money more outside of. I think something that I learned as well, not even like the education system, but the actual system of the UK is broke, is that there's 31.1 billion money lost within pensions. You're taught that the pensions are retiring and stuff like that, but there's 31.1 billion lost within the system. So that's in the system.
Yeah, and I think it's again, you know, if you want to look at the bigger picture, you got the educational system. Yeah, it's failing. It's failing people. That's a fact. And then you look at the government. That's corrupt as hell. I think when it's crazy because in life, growing up, you think the government's behind you, the government there to protect you, the government's got your back. But I think as you grow up, you realise that the government don't give a shit about you. It's you versus you. It's a one-man army. And the school, everything you've ever been taught is a lie. You know, like if you do well at school, you'll do well in life. Bullshit. That's not true. The most successful people in life and the people that are doing the best, it isn't from school, 100%. So I think when you start to look back, you think all of this was a lie. The teachers told me if I did good at school and I got my head down that I would, you know, live a good life and be successful. How the fuck is working 40, 50 years? Again, it's what you define as success. But well, you know, what's your definition of success? My definition of success is waking up doing what the fuck you want when you want and not worrying about money. The success isn't owning a nice house and a nice car and living paycheck to paycheck. That's the old success because you're constantly under pressure to perform every month. So I think when you start to question and look at life like that, you start to realize, do you know what? We've been lied to. There's no, you can't debate that. You can't sit there and go, well, no, but school is bullshit. Yeah. School manufactures employees. And again, I don't want anyone to be offended when I talk about employees, but if you're built differently and you're an entrepreneur, you've got that entrepreneurial kind of mindset, you are going to agree with what I say, because if you speak to any entrepreneur, they're all going to tell you that the educational system is fucked. It's fucked.
You don't need the mindset either. You can see for yourself, and you can do your own research out there, that the education teaches you a set structure. That's why you're graded on them set structures as well. But I think the biggest tell as well is whenever if you say you're writing a CV, your experience goes before your grades, your education. That's why people hire you on experience and not on education. Your education is one of the lowest things. Education isn't as valuable because you learn more by doing things or by seeing things. Experience is more wealth than education.
Absolutely. Oh, here's my GCSEs. Can I get a job, please? Here's my.
They never check anyway.
Look at this little paper certificate that I've got. Like, what the fuck is a certificate? Who gives a fuck in the real world, in business? Who the fuck gives a shit about a paper fucking certificate?
I think if you're a doctor or a surgeon, it might be more important.
No one cares. No one fucking cares.
This is where we said this.
You do need some certificates.
And this is what we were saying when we said earlier. The educational system is great for depending on the profession that you want to go into. It's not necessarily. It's not built for everybody. It's built to kind of push people down a particular road or to make it as easy as possible for certain professions, but not necessarily.
It's built to keep you trapped in a 9 to 5, pay your fucking taxes, shut your mouth, work 5 days a week, 6 days, pay your mortgage off over 40 years, and then die, and then we'll tax you when you die as well. That's what the educational system is. So,
you wrap it up there?
But that's from an entrepreneurial perspective. If you're average minded, you're happy being average, you're happy paying your taxes, you're happy working every day of the fucking week for 40 years, then you're going to disagree with me. But for people that are entrepreneurs, any businessman or woman watching this will know that the educational system is absolute bullshit. What they teach is bullshit. What they teach is not help them one little bit get to where they need to be. So I agree, the socializing is great, the reading and writing is great, but you don't turn up to a business meeting and go, look, here's my certificate. Look, I've got a degree in this. When people tell me, oh, I've got a degree in business, it don't mean shit. I don't care, because you've been taught business by someone that works a job.
The amount of members that come through that say, I've got a degree in business, and then you go, okay, so do you know what this is? And we go, no. Okay, so what's your degree worth?
Because they're brainwashed by the system to believe that they're good at business when not good at business. You're good at running someone else's business, but you're not good at running your own business because you don't understand.
I think I did business studies in high school, and it was basically how to use a computer. Like, it wasn't anything about business. It was just like, this is a keyboard. Can you type on it? That was it.
And I still failed.
But again,
My
like,
CV says different.
Not everybody's going to agree with us, or me. Not everybody's going to see it from our point of view if they're not at the level that we're at. I just have a different view on it now. So the higher you go, the bigger the picture becomes and the more you understand. I didn't understand any of this 10 years ago. I didn't understand this. I didn't think this educational system was a scam. I didn't think, anything that I've said in this podcast 10 years ago. Now I know, because I think, okay, what's helped me become successful? All these people I network with, have they all become successful? And not once does the educational system come into the conversation of that's helped them get to the level they are. Why don't schools teach you about networking? One of the most fucking powerful things you could do in business is network. Your network is your net worth. Why do they not teach you how to network? Why do they not teach you the importance of a relationship in business? Why don't they teach you about taxes? Why do they not teach you about traveling and exploring the world and learning new cultures? Why do they not teach you on how to create your own business? And that's the only thing that's going to help you live a good life, is creating your own business that allows you to design your own schedule. Why do they not teach you that? It's all bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. And I'm happy if anybody wants to drop me a DM on Instagram and we'll have a 10-minute debate. I'll give you 10 minutes of my time. We'll have a punch up over Instagram. And then,
But I think the good thing is that we need people to disagree with us. Because like I said, we need people who want to do the 9 to 5. And look, if you're happy to do 9 to 5, fantastic. As long as you're happy in your life and what you're doing, that's all
and
that
I validate that. That's fine.
That's all that matters. But what we're saying is that if you believe the education system is correct, then it's correct for you. That's all that matters. It's correct for you. It's not correct for everyone. Like I said, the people who want to more in their life, the people who want to see what's the grass is greener on the other side, understand that there is an education outside of your education system. The stuff that you're going to learn, there is a place for you, and you'll have more of an education. It's like the people say, you don't learn to drive until you start driving. Like, you get taught the foundations how to do it, but then you actually understand how to drive correctly and more comfortably once you've started driving. The education system will get you so far. It'll give you structure in terms of a 9 to 5. But if you want more in your life, if you want to understand that a salary of 30 grand to 40 grand isn't successful, and the only reason we're saying it isn't successful is because we've seen that made in a month, we've seen that made in a day. That's that you don't get shown that on purpose.
Of
and
course.
Then what from this podcast as well, we're not trying to convert you in terms of saying e-commerce is correct. What we want to do is obviously create a question in your brain on why we're saying it, on why there's other avenues that are successful.
Well, again, I think people should be open-minded. Again, like the way I've got to where I am today, and the same as you guys and the members, is they were open-minded to listen to other people's opinions and views on the system as a whole, not just the educational system, but the system being the government and who's written the rules, why should we live like this, taxes. They've been open-minded. If you was not open-minded, you wouldn't be sat here now. You wouldn't be sat here. I wouldn't be sat here because we would believe in one thing, and it's the one thing they told us at school, which is get a job, work your way up the ladder, and that's true success, which we all know is bullshit. So I think for people watching this that aren't open-minded, this podcast isn't for you. Work your job, pay your taxes. I think for people that are open-minded, then I would definitely listen to other people's opinions. Like, I don't always agree with people, and maybe they're right and I'm wrong. I'm not saying I know everything, but you can see how passionate we are about this, because I truly believe what I'm saying, because I've seen it, and the amount of people I network with, millionaires, very successful people, it's all the same trait. They never got anything from school, and school is the complete opposite to success.
I think as a parent, so our daughter's 5, she's in reception. We just wanted to put her into school, see how it goes, because she spent all her life just around us, around the team, like when we go away, not really around other children than her like dancing class. So we thought, right, we'll put her in and just see what happens and take it from there. I've seen her confidence knocked since being in school. She's way more confident, like when she's been away with us, like she'll speak to the waiter. Since she's been in school, she's gone a bit more reserved, I think. And we came back from a holiday, which we weren't allowed to go on, by the way, because they limit you. And And then we have like an app so we can see what she's doing. And there was a picture of her like sat at a desk, and I just felt so shit because I was like, last week she was in the pool till whatever time she wanted. She was sitting in a Spanish cafe, like saying "hola" to the waitress, like, and you just feel shit.
But she's not at a stage where she's learning yet.
Oh yeah,
she's going there, playing with toys, having fun.
And reading and writing,
and it's learning
the
through play.
skills.
It's, you know, at that stage when you're looking at that, you know,
we've already had the conversation of pulling her out.
The early years system.
As soon as she gets to a point where she don't want to go to school, we pull her out.
Yeah.
She don't have to. And it's the experience.
You're not using it as a school. You're using it as a social group.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly that.
Make friends.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Be a kid.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You don't need to educate yourself in there because you're going to get an education.
So over the last, I'd say 12 months, my 13-year-old has come home and told me what she learns at school every single day. Not one day has she ever come home and she's learned something where I'm like, okay, that helps you in business. Not once.
And also she's come home and told me, oh no, I had a phone call from the school. She's in isolation at the moment because of her hair colour. If she says she's not going to dye it back, we hope you'll support us. So I sent a really cross email. I said, why is she in isolation from her hair colour? Like, it's just red streaks. It's nothing like bright green or anything.
This is just the educational system with shut your mouth, do's your tongue.
So I said, no, she won't be dyeing her hair back. Why is she in isolation? How does that affect her learning at all? The colour of her hair? He never replied to me, and she was back in the lesson.
I know people will watch this and people will ask, well, you know, why would the educational system do that? Because, again, too many rich people is bad for the economy. You can't have too many rich people. Yeah. And they want taxes paid. They want their money. So this is why it's not an accident. You know, it's a nation of workers. And it's exactly what we see. It's only the 1% that break out of that. The people that are, do you know what? I will question that. I will be open-minded. So I think, again, the message in this podcast for people watching would be, don't always take something
at face value.
Question.
Yeah.
Be open-minded. Even with me, like in business, I don't. You know, if somebody's got a different opinion to me, I want to hear it. What's your opinion? Yeah. Why do you think that?
But at school, that was knocked out of you.
I don't close it and shut it and go. At school, it was.
Like, but do you remember being at school and you'd be like, you haven't put your hand up, like, but you want to say this bit. Oh, that's your opinion. No, we're learning this at the moment.
But then the teachers
shouldn't we have
don't know
opinions?
they're doing
Shouldn't
that.
we question it?
But the teachers don't know they're doing that because the teachers have been brainwashed.
Yeah.
And then their parents have been brainwashed. It's like you don't know because they're all coming from the same place. So it's like if we weren't open-minded, for one, we wouldn't be sat here now. We wouldn't have the freedom we have. Secondly, we would be saying the complete opposite to what we're saying now. We're like, well, you listen to the teacher's book. You don't. If you need to go to the toilet, put your hand up. You don't just get up and go to the toilet because you don't know any different. You know, so you can understand it. Like my parents, again, were very against me doing anything online. It's all a scam. Because they've been brainwashed at school, and what did they do their whole life? My mum and dad. Oh, all they did was work their whole life. Yeah. Oh, and pay their taxes. Oh, and shut their mouth because they'll lose their house if they don't shut their mouth. Do you know what I mean? So they don't know any different. As soon as you become open-minded, you go, do you know what? I'm going to try something different. I'm gonna bet on myself with this one. Oh, don't do that. It's too much of a risk. It's you know, have you not seen that on the news? Oh, that narrative, the same narrative,
the one they want to feed you.
So I think that's why in the UK especially, there is such a negative mindset about doing something for yourself.
Absolutely.
And this is where, as a country, we fail. Whereas if you look into different continents, or like the US is so positive and everyone's behind you. And it's not that it's money oriented, but everyone celebrates your wins. Whereas, like I said, this is where, again, I know we're only speaking about the UK, but again, this is where the system goes into whether you're taught to be such a negative mindset and just gloomy, because like I said, they want you to follow it, they want you to pay taxes, and because paying taxes funds you realistically ask the government what work they've done in the last 20 years apart from line their pockets.
I do think like even with like obviously like even with the schooling system, there are benefits to it in the sense that it teaches you a lot of social skills. It teaches you about discipline, manners, respect. It provides all of that learning, because and where else are you going to learn that if you come from a family where your parents are not teaching you that? Then
that's true.
It's about the schooling systems there to try and provide these like kids with these experiences so that when they do grow up, like they grow up to be like not a toe rag, but where it is broken is where we've sort of discussed before, where they are told you that where you're taught there is only one right way to do it. It's not a case of, you know, look, there's 5 different options here, which one is the best, why is it the best, what are the reasons for the other ones not being the best, rather than just saying it's that way, that's how you work it out, and that's the end of it. So there are pros and cons.
But the cons outweigh the pros by far, because it sets you up to fail, not sets you up to succeed. And again, I think the biggest thing to look at right now is, like I said earlier, if a kid was to start school now, they're finishing stuff like 2040, they're fucked, because the world is going to be run on AI. Our school system isn't teaching AI, it's not teaching technology, they don't even teach e-com in you know, or any other online business in school. Why are you not teaching anything to do with the internet? The internet is the biggest thing that's ever fucking happened. It's like, you know, the golden generation, like the golden era right now for the internet. Why are we not adapting? Why are we still teaching shit that worked 30 years ago?
I think some schools do. Some schools do have some schools will have like coding that's within the curriculum to kind of teach kids how to get into the whole computer side of things. I mean, even if you look at some, like look at Barclays. It was Barclays, wasn't it? That was doing this before. That was kind of bringing out like their coding clubs to kind of get kids into like learning how to create apps and how to create games and all of this kind of stuff. But why is that coming from outside when that could be coming from within our education?
Yeah, because it's not an accident. You know, it's on purpose. And if you what does the government want? What you got to look at the end goal of what do they want? They want employees. They will knock the self-belief out of you. They'll drain you. They'll tell you that working a job and climbing the ladder is success. They'll brainwash you over the years into believing that's the way to live, because everybody else lives that way. Your mum and dad lived that way, and you'd leave school believing that you're not good enough to hit millionaire status or financial freedom status, because you've always been told that you've done well at school, now you get a job and now you climb the ladder, and one day you could be on a 50k salary at the top. Like, it's all utter bullshit. And I think if you're someone who's open-minded, you'll be open to listening. I think if you're someone who's closed-minded because, you know, you up your own arse or whatever it may be, then you're not going to listen. You're thinking about this guy's full of shit, this guy thinks he has. But understand, we're not speaking from no experience. You know, we've experienced a lot of life, a lot of business. We've networked with a lot of big entrepreneurs and people that are big in business, you know, who generate 7, 8, 9 figures. So we're coming from a place of experience. We're not saying this to, you know, because the educational system's attacked me or anything like that. We're speaking through just knowledge and understanding. But I think we should wrap that up there. I think, again, if any of you guys disagree, feel free to DM me or Anthony.
Because I think they just ending on that though, like, we are open for a conversation.
Absolutely,
we're not closed off, and we appreciate everyone's opinion. The same as we hopefully you respect our opinion and appreciate our opinion. We're not here to tell you there is a right or the wrong. You're correct in your opinion because it's your opinion. All we want to do is create a question.
Absolutely, but I believe
but you're wrong if you think different to Ryan.
But I believe I'm right, because I've not to this day met one successful person that held up his little certificate and got financial freedom. So I agree. But look,
it's not conversation.
No one else can end this after Ryan.
Guys, come and DM me. Let's have a little chat. Thanks,
Perfect.
guys.
Cheers.
Thanks.